Yo, Shortbox Nation, welcome back. Thanks for pressing play. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. My name is Botter. I'm your host. This is the Shortbox Podcast, the comic book talk show that brings you the best conversations about comics with the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears into making them, or in today's case, with the people who put their blood, sweat, and tears and whole life force into talking about them, into selling them, and all that good stuff, all right? This is episode 497, and today's guest needs no introduction because this is like his 100th appearance on the show at this point. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, or you're watching the video version of this episode, then this place that I'm in needs no introduction as well. I'm recording live from Gotham City Limit Comic Shop. It's my local comic shop, but it's also the best damn comic shop in all of Florida, all right? The awards behind me say it all. And we're here at Gotham City Limit because we're going to be talking with Ben. We're doing a mid-year check-in on the state of comics. We're going to talk about the best comics of the year so far, and we're going to talk about what you can expect from Free Comic Book Day, okay? Ben's done these episodes so many times. I think he can do this in his sleep, but you know what? It's a brand new year. It's our first recording of the year, and I'm excited about it. So without further ado, Shortbox Nation, let's welcome to the show someone that has been patiently sitting as I go through this intro, our man, Ben Kingsbury.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was hard not to say anything that whole time. I wanted to chime in a bunch. Like, I don't want any tears, all right? Yeah, blood and sweat into selling comics. If I have tears selling comics, hopefully it's tears of joy.
Aww.
Well, actually, that's true. We'll get into it in a little bit. There's something that almost made me cry this year. So.
Ben, we're recording. We got a different setup today. I was like, let's go for moody and dark. Lights off in the shop. We're recording this on Sunday. You just closed the shop about an hour ago.
Yep.
And before we hit record, you said that you were going to go home, make some tacos, which sound amazing right now. I'm starving. And then you said you're going to prepare for the busiest week of your life.
Yes.
And I'm curious, we're recording Sunday. Next Saturday will be Free Comic Book Day. This episode comes out that Wednesday. What's the next couple of days look like for you in preparation?
Last year on Free Comic Book Day, the best thing that we did was use the place next door, which I call the Batcave. So we've got to get that in order. So, it's very easy over a year when you have a storage unit to let things kind of get a little out of control. I'll clean it up next week, So particularly tomorrow, not only do we have Free Comic Book Day, which is Saturday, but we have 2 pallets coming in. So you're going to get more of your Free Comic Book Day stuff. We have received a little bit of the merchandise already, but we got 2 pallets coming in tomorrow, plus another store exclusive coming out this coming Wednesday. We have just been...
What's the store exclusive?
It's the Tyler Kirkham's final boss mass vigilante one-shot. Elias Chadzudis, the Greek god of pinups, is what his nickname. And he has taken this mass character and done a wonderful job. We have a very limited virgin amount of retailer exclusives coming out for it. So we've got that to get prepped for. And then we have obviously the standard New Comic Book Day this Wednesday, and then Free Comic Book Day, which is not only the busiest day of the year, but the day that I had a grand opening, and it still feels like you get a lot of new people, and it really is a celebration of everything that you do all year long. So I really look forward to it, but in preparation to make sure that I properly present as many pieces as I can. A great day for everybody. I really, it takes a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of just putting it all together. So, we'll get into what we have going on, but Aaron Barling's coming down to the shop. Right. We have the Hello Body Horror exclusive, The Virgin, that we're releasing only on Free Comic Book Day. That's his comic. So he's going to be down here signing. Lenny from Spineworks is going to be here as a CGC witness. And then we're introducing the Sky Fox, Kitsukumore. Yes, the official new mascot of the Limit and his sidekick. I've got some stickers. Obviously, we always produce some stuff. So, we're doing 4 limited edition prints. The very first print.
Go show them off, Ben.
This is Kitsukumore, the Sky Fox. Okay, so Rogue Dupont from Crook Shadows and I created this character. He did the art. The simple idea behind this character is that I need a new shop dog. I lost both my dogs last year, and we need a new shop dog. I got application for a new shop dog. It was a fox. But I think it's a dog. I bring him on, but he's actually Kitsu Komore, the Sky Fox. So the reason we got the idea, it came from my logo. So the world's largest bat is a flying fox.
Yeah, they're
right?
scary as hell.
Giant. I couldn't even believe that was a real thing. So the bat logo on my logo, Gotham City Limit, is actually a flying fox, the world's largest bat. Yeah,
is this a retroactive change?
Well, you know what? You just go with it. Pretend CERN smashed some particles together, and it's always been the flying fox. Well, DC has the rights to just a terribly written and bad drawn character called the Flying Fox, so we didn't want to mess around with that when we were creating a new character. So we called him the Sky Fox. Kitsu Komore. Komore is bat, spirit, and Kitsu is folklore. So we've got 4 individual prints. We're going to sign and number. They're all limited to 500. We've got a Batman one here. We've got the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns, homage. Yeah, even a Wolverine homage one. And so there's 4 of them, limited edition. The first time this guy's ever going to be in print. We made stickers.
Oh, my God.
And then here he is, his sidekick, Racer, the Flash. Yeah, here he is introducing Racer. That's actually my new puppy shop dog in training. So.
I cannot wait to meet Racer.
Yeah, well, he can't wait to meet you either. He came in here. I brought him in twice. The first time I brought him in, I acted like he was going to be like Pacer and I could just have him in work, and it was a total nightmare for me. I had to try to block him off, and he was chewing through everything. Second time I came in, he acted like I could actually puppy sit him. By the end of the day, he was on all 4s, laid out on the concrete, 5 different women rubbing him, feeding him treats. It was like an Egyptian king. Yeah, bro. Yeah. This guy, he's going to get used to it. He wants to come back. So
you're like, not in my shop, buddy.
So we're doing some sweet stickers giveaway for that. That are going to be our new character. We're going to create a whole comic out of it. Calvin and Hobbes is my favorite thing ever. And so having an animated, animal comic is probably right up our alley.
Man, what I appreciate about you is that you take Free Comic Book Day so seriously, and the production value, which I don't think a lot of shops can say they actually apply production value into a day like Free Comic Book Day. But it always feels like you always take it bigger and better every year. And it's and every year we do talk about, because we normally record right before Free Comic Book Day, so this is a par for the course. And you're always talking about how busy the week is going to be. And I wonder how many times you go home and walk by a mirror and you're like, there's the guy. There's the guy who's giving me the busiest hell week of this week. There he is right there.
I have my conscience. It's called my girlfriend. She reminds me, Yeah. No, it's funny too, because poor Jonathan, he is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
And I really don't know if we would even have this shop without him. He does so much behind the scenes. But even we have so much happening this week. And the pallets that sometimes come earlier in the week, of course, they're coming delayed and they're not coming until the beginning of the actual week this week. So he's a little stressed out about it. But without him, without Jonathan kind of being there to get us ready for Free Comic Book Day, I don't think I would be able to. But trust me, we both stress about it on the constant. I always say, as soon as I get through Free Comic Book Day, then we're going to take a break and we're going to relax and we're going to do this. And I told Vanessa that, I just got to get through one more week. Just this week, I'm going to work every day. Right. And then it'll be Touch a Truck event with, something. And then it's then it's our Comic-Con event on July 11th here for the First Coast Comic-Con. And then everything else, we have another exclusive for a huge Energon book coming out in June. Oh, yeah. So, the reality is this is the lifestyle I chose, and I really like the everyday grind. However, I'm trying to figure out a way to slow it down a little, because you probably get this. Once you get into a routine, that's why time flies by.
For sure.
Because you're so used to the next
sure.
Wednesday. So just kind of like on a Sunday night doing something else just to take your mind off of it, that kind of thing. It really is important.
Look, it sounds exciting. I mean, like you said, you're unveiling the new shop mascot.
Yep.
You got Aaron Bartling coming down for the signing.
Yep.
Obviously, the comics, and then everything else that you do in terms
sales. We have a popcorn vendor who makes 26 different types of specialty popcorn. Wow. First 100, he's going to be out here selling his stuff,
taking it to the limit
at discount. Well, I always like to bring unique stuff too. Obviously, I'll have coffee and donuts early. We'll do some type of lunch in the middle of the afternoon, probably pizza, something easy. Cool. Finger food for people. But then the first 100 people here will get free vouchers to get free popcorn bags from this guy. Like I said, he's bringing a bunch of different kinds of James sweetened popcorn. So I'm excited about that. And then everything else that we have, the huge sales, the exclusives, Aaron being in town, free comic book day, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. essentially. Cool. It's gonna be a day.
All right, Ben, I wanna get back. I want to talk more about free comic book day. I want specifically the titles coming out, but before we do that, I do want to take a step back because this episode is to serve not only as our what do we need to look forward to for Free Comic Book Day, but also a chance to touch base with you about the year in comics so far.
Yep.
And so I want to take a slight detour and ask. 2026, Gotham City Limit, comics, all of that. What are some words that come to mind when you think about this year in comics so far from the retailer side?
Smaller print, smaller publishers, number ones are crushing. Because, and I think it's because Diamond comic distribution preview magazines don't exist anymore. And so I think it has had a cascading effect on what shops actually order. Because when you're taking a risk on Batman or Superman or Amazing Spider-Man, it's a little bit easier to take a risk on something like that. Everybody knows the characters. But when it's Mad Cave, when it's even Image, to a certain extent, when it's Boom Studios, when it's some of these other publishers that people don't just buy 150 copies of a new number one. No one knows anything about the comic, right? So you see the return of the number one again, the huge spike, Nectar, Dork, White Sky, all of a sudden a comic's $80 and it hasn't even come out yet. Or, I mean, Dork literally was a $40 comic before it came out on a Wednesday. Wow. I had to sell them in here one per store. White Sky, same thing, $40 comic before it came out. I had to sell them one per store. Every Mad Cave Studio title, number one, that I get essentially right now, doesn't matter what it is. I mean, I don't get a ton. You can't really get more than 15 or 20 and gone. The number ones, but it doesn't always translate into continuing on the series. It definitely does, but the return of the buying of the number one spec is back, and it's and I think, like I said, it's just because people aren't telling comic shops what they want ahead of time. There's no FOC real numbers on it. And so shops in general, I just look at something like White Sky. They sent me an email about it. I read the PDF and I was like, okay, this could be a cool one. It's Image number one. We ended up with 100 copies. Very awesome. Vault, when they did Nectar, okay, that comic blew up right away. Vampire Butterflies. Essentially, the story's great, but it blew up because no one ordered it. But Vault did such an amazing job in doing bundle orders. The writer of that comic, Jeremy, sent me an email letting me know what was happening with it. We ended up with a bunch of them, and then we could hook people up. I mean, I don't take that comic and then sell it for $40 in here. Yes, I sell a few on eBay for $40, but I have them in here one per person, and I hook people up for $3.99, $4.99. Try to get them the comic at the comic price while it's out. You know, it's just as hard because I'm guessing. You know, and so there's a couple that I got burned on. Royals from Image number one. Just really was a brand new Image. And because every Image number one had been selling, you're like, all right, well, I better get 50 of those at least. And I got, 30 of them left because it's not really every single one. I don't know. It's impossible to gauge. It really is just a randomness of it all.
This kind of reminds me of a similar conversation I was having with Dan Hastings earlier in the year. Recorded with him about being a shop owner for his first year, and he mentioned, I think, a similar thing where it's, and I don't know if he directly contributed it to Diamond, the preview magazine not being around, but he did talk about the challenge of kind of playing that guessing game, and like it kind of it showed me a spotlight on the the shop owner's taste, like being in touch with the customer base, like what
Right.
will they like. And he spoke, and in short, he was saying that his particular shop, is a little more leaning towards horror and more indie. I guess same question for you. If you had to kind of categorize, or what words come to mind in terms of your customer base, like is there anything that you're like, oh, this is for sure going to be a sure shot, maybe a genre, an artist, creative team, or subject? Is
Yeah.
there anything that you look at for
Well,
like
I
new number
mean,
ones?
just like in general, I pay attention. So Jonathan and I were talking about it. We don't get a lot of FOC orders
Hmm.
anymore compared to like what we used to. We still get some, but basically we have to know, since I get emails from people telling me what they want, and then I have to look at what I ordered,
Hmm.
see what I sold, and then go from there. See, because the poll, it doesn't tell you the whole number.
Hmm.
You might have on certain titles like Absolute Batman, it tells you the whole number because everybody's so worried about missing an A cover. You have 211 people pulling it.
No.
And that's all of them, and you're gonna have other people who walk in, but on another title, some people assume because they got 1 and 2 here, they'll walk in and find number 3 here. So what we try to do is really just pay attention, read stories, but there isn't one genre. We want to do all genres. In fact, the one thing that I want to do, or anything that we do here, is trying to make this a fun, unique experience when you're here. So, pull lists generally used to require FOCs, telling people
Hmm.
ahead of time. Man, I have taken that out of the equation for people. I am FOC.
Hmm.
Jonathan's FOC. We read and connect. I do, retailer calls to try to find out what's coming out. They send me PDFs of comics coming out in the future. I'm like, okay, that's got an appearance in it. This one is going to probably be highly wanted.
Let me jump in here real quick, because we've talked before on these similar episodes about the sheer volume of comics that you read every morning. I think at one point you said it was like 20 comics a day or something.
I mean,
Something
not
crazy.
that many, but like, yeah, I try to get in 5 to 8 a day. Seriously.
How much preview and advanced review stuff are you also reading? 'Cause I
Well,
think it's the first time I'm hearing you
all the
mention it.
time. Oh man, I've already read. Well, I love it. James Tynion is so great. He'll send me like the Exquisite Corpse early.
Oh, nice.
David Pepios will send me all of his stuff early.
Hmm.
Hey, this is on FOC this week. Here's a
Cool.
PDF of it if you want to read it. They put your Lunar account or the account number all
Mhm.
over it so you don't share it. But I love doing it. In fact, actually get pissed off when I take comics home to read on a new, and I'm like, oh, I read this a month ago. This is that fucking one, bro. Yeah, oh, it happens all the time. I'm so mad. I'm wasting a whole sweet
Ben,
slot in my
please,
car. I already read
please.
this one.
Ben, check your privilege at the door.
Yeah.
All right? Check your privilege out the door, good sir. That is the most privileged thing I've heard.
I know,
No,
but it's hard not to tell everybody what's
Mhm.
happening and ruin the stories for Jonathan. Jonathan is just let me ruin
That's
everything
funny.
for him. Tyler really tries to be like, hey, Ben, don't say another word. I don't want to know,
Sure.
kind of thing. But yeah, anytime they send me a PDF of a comic, I read it 100%, especially ahead of time, because that really helps
Sure,
me
sure.
in determining what I can order and what if it's going to be a good read or not,
Yeah.
I mean, I love collecting comics. I'm glad comics are worth money, and I love that like Absolute Batman is blown up, but I never bought comics purely just for money, but everybody does something different. I just
Sure.
like to read.
Sure.
And I like the stories and the comic stories, and we like to create and do exclusives, and we like to make things. I mean, that's kind of the idea, is that we're in the business. They do 26 different Superman, Spider-Man covers. We're going to have 26 different Superman, Spider-Man covers here.
Okay. I think we're gonna stay in this this area a little longer. We'll get right back to Free Comic Book Day, but now you got my mind turning. Hearing you talk about advanced reviews, retailer calls, it makes me think about like the retailer friendly policies that publishers have in place, that these outreaches that they have. One of the things that happened this year, and I think happens every year around the same time, was the Comics Pro. I don't think it's a convention, but
Yeah, it's always on
it's a
the
conference.
West Coast, right?
I think so.
Yeah,
Yes, I think
I
so.
believe so.
So, for those that don't know, Comics Pro is an annual event that's mainly geared towards retailers,
Yeah.
comic shop owners, industry insiders. So they talk about new releases. They give you a heads up on policies and changes, and the business side, the retailer side. One of the things that I know came out of this year's Comics Pro event was I believe it was Boom Studios announcing, hey, we are implementing returns again,
Yep.
which I know hasn't been the case.
Yep.
So it's got me thinking, you're talking about, reading all these advanced reviews, making kind of smart choices, kind of taking the responsibility of like, hey, I'm going to take a shot on this number one or this new series I think might hit with my customer base, etc. Has something like that, how much of that, the ability to return comics from like a Boom Studios, does that give you a little more ammo, a little more reassurance to try out like something new, maybe take a risk
I
on
mean,
a new
it's not
title?
even without without a doubt. It happens only sparingly, and sometimes different companies do it. Boom's doing it. Ignition Press is doing it, which is very smart. When you're a new company,
Hmm.
especially a brand new publisher, and you're making adult comics that you just make. I mean, great, amazing art, but really adult stories topics to make the first 3 or 4 issues returnable for a comic shop changes the game. I am definitely willing to buy a huge stack of them and put them out on the table. One that just came out, this Extraction. You remember what's the main character, the guy who plays Thor? I don't know his name.
Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah, Hemsworth. The Extraction movie he did.
I actually watched all 3 of them.
So they have a comic, Tyler Rake Extraction from Ignition Press that just came out.
I'm gonna grab it.
Yeah, right over
Yeah,
there.
I see it.
But all the Ignition Press titles are amazing. They're great. And Beauty is another one of them. And that's a TV show going on right now. Have you seen that, Beauty?
No, I have not.
Yeah, well, that's another Ignition Press title. But they do returnability, and it allows me to bring this stuff in, show people great titles. And then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Sure.
I mean, and you can return it. I mean, I don't order them to return them because it's usually about a 2-month window down the line. So the goal is to sell as many as you can. That's the goal, isn't to return any, but it definitely helps. DC is doing bundles on some of their new stuff. So they just started their next level, which is Lobo, Deathstroke, the Terminator, and Batwoman. That's going to kick off. There's a new Barbara Gordon story coming out that is amazing. The first issue, I read it PDF. Yeah, but no, that's great, and they help with bundles. And then Marvel says, "Well, we got Spider-Man. You want to buy him?" I'm like, "Yep."
Okay, well, on the topic of Comics Pro, and you brought up DC, I think one of the announcements that came out of that event was DC announcing, "Hey, this is the year that we're going to do our first absolute crossover, I think, between the Trinity, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman." And, absolute was a topic that we talked about ad nauseum last time we recorded.
And everybody knows it's still as crazy as it was that last time.
I was just about to ask, how has the foot traffic been for absolute?
Still, I mean, I started the last 3 or 4 issues since Joker took his whole form for the first time in Absolute Batman 15. I order so many copies just to have some in the shop for people. And then we got first Scarecrow, and you see all the retailer exclusives going down for it. And then you've got the first Robins coming on the next one. So Absolute World still crushes. DCKO actually was the best. The ending of DCKO, I can spoil it now, right? It's been 2 months since DCKO number 5 came out. If you don't want to know what happened at the end of DCKO number 5, skip for 2 minutes. That's it. Anyway, at the end, it's Darkseid, just a ton of planets. They all have the Omega symbol, and he's talking about the absolute crisis of Infinite Earths.
Oh, wow.
So that's 100% coming in DC Comics, and that'll be awesome because the best-selling DC KO comics were when they had the absolute characters in it fighting. And then absolute stuff just crushes. DC continues
still going strong,
rule that hen house in terms of comic sales, and I mean, rightfully so. They write stuff that people want, and it's fantastic. So.
Okay, Ben, you're wearing a wonderful, amazing Superman Roosevelt shirt.
Yes, first one. Jonathan got me this actually. First Roosevelt because he wanted me to start. I think it's a hint.
You got a lot of love last time. Last time we recorded, you wore the Ben Grimm Roosevelt shirt.
The thing.
But I bring up your shirt because I see Superman, and it makes me think about the Supergirl. The Superwoman movie. Oh, the Supergirl.
Supergirl. Yeah,
sorry, Supergirl movie coming out in June. I think DC is pushing the marketing as, the summer of Supergirl.
Yep.
How is that? Have you seen any increased foot traffic, any interest? How are you getting ready for, we got a ton of movies coming out.
Yeah, well, the Woman of Tomorrow comic itself Once they announced it, basically people came in and bought all the issues that we had, so there wasn't a lot of like back issues, individual issues of it. But selling, DC does those amazing compact comics. So many Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrows.
You were looking a little skimp over
I
there.
know. I can't. They're out of stock. They're so awesome. Then they did a limited edition hardcover and a trade paperback. So huge amount of sales on that. And then you have the new Supergirl line that's going on. Lobo has his own comic. So DC is doing a good job of kind of trying to tie all those proper characters together. So, I mean, people are definitely looking forward to it, even though I just want to see He-Man.
All right. Well, I guess, Ben, you just make transitions really easy because you somehow bring up all the topic that I have in mind. You brought up He-Man. We're talking about Supergirl. We're talking about the summer of movies we're about to have. Supergirl, Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter. Yes. Come on. They just announced Valiant versus Street Fighter.
They did?
They're doing a crossover.
Oh, no way. Okay. I mean, listen, Valiant is writing new stuff, and it is good. It is actually good, but the same 7 people buy it that bought it since 1990. No matter what company. I mean, I guess people are just, the Bloodshot's really good, but I guess it's just hard, or people are just over it, or they've tried it. It's like Youngblood. I mean, I love Youngblood, but the same core people, it's hard to get new people to try to read it. The same people who read it, love it, are so into it. In fact, I think Liefeld just dropped the new Bats, B-A-T-S, on the backside of Youngblood number 5, which is a cool little Easter egg. No one knew that was coming. So,
well, I brought up, we're talking all these movies. It made me think that the week that we're recording, there was 2 kind of big announcements or drops this week. One being the Clayface trailer.
Yep.
And then second, for me, I think personally, this is a little bias that I'm spotlighting this, but they also announced the cast for the Southern Bastards pilot. I guess it's a pilot right now, but might be a full series that Hulu is going to be doing. Announced Kevin Bacon.
See, I don't know if I saw.
McGraw.
No, I don't know if I saw that at all. No, you have to tell me. I don't know. I've been. I want to make sure in my laboratory.
So, are you familiar with the Southern Bastards?
Oh yeah, 100%. Jason Aaron. Oh yeah.
Amazing, right? Jason Aaron, Jason Latour. It was, the series that, as crime noir combined with like Southern football culture. So earlier this week, they announced the cast. Back in October, take a step back. In October, Hulu had optioned the series for a pilot. Well, they just announced the cast. You got, let me make sure I got this right. You got Kevin Bacon playing Earl. You've got Erin Kellyman playing Roberta, so she's the daughter of Earl, the military vet that comes back. Then you got Earl, played by Kevin Bacon, and then the coach, the football coach, the crooked football coach from the series is played named Boss. Isn't it played by Tim McGraw?
Oh, no way. Really? Oh, that would be fun. So, it's on Hulu?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I heard that they were doing it. Yeah. What a cool thing. We'll have to try to go back and get some more of those somewhere.
Yeah, no announcements at all. But, so, I mean, you got the Clayface trailer that came out this week. Yep. James Gunn is pushing it. It's got a whole different vibe, the body horror, the horror elements to it. People are obviously talking about that. That's coming out this year. Southern Bastards just got announced. I guess, Ben, what's been the most exciting announcement or like comic news that has come out this year that you've seen had a direct impact to foot traffic, sales, whatever it may be, or maybe a personal one?
Well, no, I mean, the actual movies that are coming: Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, He-Man, Supergirl, Avengers, Doomsday. You had Mario Brothers, Sonic. It really is, for most of the people my age, kind of amazing because they're making like a Mortal Kombat movie that looks like the video game where they're really gonna like go all in. Same thing with the Street Fighter. It looks like, hey, we can make these kind of style movies. People are looking to be entertained. That's the whole point of the genre in general. I think what I've seen is that people still love Invincible more than anything. No matter what. Invincible season coming out has been, obviously gets people in, and I still have a lot of like 13-year-old kids who come in with their mother and like, do you have any Invincible comics? And I'm like, well, I got issue 89 for $55. If you know what I mean? Like, unfortunately, that's all Invincible comics, $20 to $140 a piece. And so then the compendiums or collectible editions, that kind of stuff.
What do you sell in that case? When like that instance of a 13-year-old that loves the show comes over to mom, she's like, "Hey, help me find something for the kid." Obviously, the back issues are
I mean,
stupid
all
expensive.
you can do is find individual. So they're reprinting stuff like individual. So like 6 to 7 issues a piece. You try to stock those, and then they just did collectible hardcovers. So I try to sell it as a collectible on top of they can read it, but it's something cool to own because all hardcovers are only basically essentially printed once, and they go up in value as well, or can. So that's really the only way to read Invincible without just, having it fun being on the hunt. Jonathan's been bringing some Invincible in, people, bringing it into the shop. They, for the first time in the history that I know, comic shops, because of Robert Kirkman, shout out, he's amazing. But because of him, comic shops this Thursday, the 30th, I believe.
Thank you.
We get to sell the Invincible video game versus 3. It's unbelievable. In fact, there's a collector's edition with all kinds of bonus stuff, including a comic. And we're going to have a bunch of that here. We can't sell it on New Comic Wednesday. They literally threatened us. You can't sell it till Thursday because that's when the drop is everywhere.
Yeah, you can't break
so they don't want me to put GameStop out of business yet.
Man,
I'm fucking coming for you, GameStop!
Man, I'm gonna be here Thursday for that. I already told you. Say if you want, I cannot wait.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. But that's really kind of cool.
No,
and because Invincible, still to this day, it deserves to be known because people don't realize this because they see the TV show and they just think it's always been popular. It's the greatest rags to riches story in the history of American comics. When Robert Kirkman was writing it, he talks about this all the time. If you've heard him talk about Invincible, they were selling, so Absolute Batman just sold 380,000 copies, something like that, approximately, before retailer exclusives and some other things. And Invincible was selling approximately 12,000 copies in the middle of its run. Literally nobody was buying it. It was kind of right after the crash of the comic market, and it's a great comic, but nobody was independent one, and no one really thought that they should be buying that stuff. And because of that, the TV show came out. That's why all these comics are hard to find and why they're expensive. But he really, because of Robert Kirkman's name, he says, the only reason they let him and Ryan Otley just keep doing it because he had already created Walking Dead. He had carte blanche essentially, and so it didn't matter how many sales they sold or how many comics they had sold because they loved doing it and they were just allowed free market to do it, and that's awesome. That's like the coolest thing ever.
You know what else that makes?
Because that doesn't happen often. No. Most of the time you get canceled and you never ever get it.
That kind of reminds me of the Family Guy thing too. Family Guy. I think. Whatever. I think maybe of season 5 it stopped airing, and then the DVD sales were so good it helped bring it back. And I think that kind of speaks. And I've heard Ryan Otley and Kirkman talk about that too, where they're like, we didn't really think anyone was reading this, but we still did it. We still put our heart and soul into it. Hearing like Ryan Otley talk about certain story arcs that he was drawing and how that series helped like push him to get better. I think it also speaks to. As long as you put your heart and soul into it, you never know when something might come back. Maybe right now isn't like your time. And I think I'm speaking to like artists in general and creators. Maybe right now isn't your time. But like what they say about like the pendulum, like at some point will come back. Yeah. It might be.
Well,
years from now.
Comic shops exemplify that all the time in so many different situations. Okay, who's the hot comic artist right now? Quintana, or you go around looking at saying who's overpaying for a specific artist, like they're just losing their mind trying to buy stuff, right? You see that pendulum swing. Oh, it's Peach Momoko stuff. Oh, it's Scotty Young stuff. You see that all the time. You see it. The idea that what Robert Kirkman and Ryan Otley, the key to what they did was they just wanted to create. Because you just don't know what the future holds. Yep. And if you believe in what you're doing, who cares what everybody else says around you? Because it's your vision. This is a cool way. You ever get mad in a car at somebody? As soon as I do, I say, you know what? I don't care. They're an NPC to me. Because they are. They're just some non-playable character I can't do anything with. I'm never going to run into again. It's totally inconsequential to get mad about being cut off. And I move on with my life. Comic world, it happens all the time. And I'll give you an example. Justice League, Worlds Without a Justice League, Green Lantern. I don't even know if I have any on the wall up there. The first appearance, it was Green Lantern. First appearance of Red Hood. Jason Todd as a Green Lantern. We did a trade dress with Tyler Kirkham. I think we sold them for $14.99 when they first came out. It was a big print run, around 3,000. And then we sold a decent amount when it first came out. And then, I don't know, maybe for like 3 years, I probably couldn't. I had it marked at like $7-8 in here and really wasn't selling too many of them. Now it is on fire online, and we sell. I mean, we must have sold probably 150 copies over the last month and a half at $30 a piece on eBay. And it's just because people have found it now. And it took a little while for them to see something. And then all of a sudden, boom, now it's worth it. And, I had to sit on the stuff for a little while. Obviously, you never know if something is going to get popular or blow up. But that's not the point. The point is, if you can obviously make enough money to survive, create. I mean, just make something. And then if it becomes cool, if it doesn't, the creation, the process was your life. So that's awesome. You're doing something you really wanted to do.
Amen. Well said. I think hearing you talk about all these sales stuff, I want to get into something with you and talk about the sales chart for the first quarter. I don't know if you visit icv2.com, but I think every month they'll post like the top 50 comic books of the month, and
like top sales.
And these sales are measured by the Comics Hub. I think it's a program that a lot of
essentially
like a POS system. Yeah. So I guess over 100 different comic shops across the world use Comics Hub, and they get this data from that. So it's not like representative of every comic shop.
Probably about a third.
Yeah,
a little over a third, but still good.
But it gives you a good picture, right?
Absolutely, nice sample size.
Yeah. So I want to go ahead and share what were the top 50, not obviously all 50, but maybe the top 10, top 50 comic books by units of March 2026. I'm going to just name some of these titles. You just tell me what comes to mind. Sure. How did they do here at the shop? What was the reception from the customers, etc. Okay. Okay. So it says here that the number one comic book of March 2026, by units, no surprise here, was the DC Marvel Superman Spider-Man one-shot crossover. Yep. I don't have the unit information, but it's ranked.
It doesn't matter.
1.
It's the coolest event of my entire life. Okay, hands down. I mean, I love Superman and Spider-Man. Regardless, I got my Superman shirt on for this, and Spider-Man is definitely probably my favorite Marvel character. The last time they teamed up together was in a Treasury edition in the late 70s. So that alone is cool. On top of it, story literally inside Superman Spider-Man is named Ben and Jonathan and Ben. It's Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker. So Jonathan and I are having the best thing ever. Jonathan, true story, Jonathan tried to buy that original art from me from that page because I loved it so much. He said Ben and Jonathan, or at least see how much the artist wanted, but they drew it digitally and they did not have it for sale, which sucked. And then the other reason it was such a big deal is we got to be one of only 15 places in the entire world to do a retailer exclusive Wish Your Art Per All on the Superman Spider-Man comic, the trade dress and virgin foil limited to 1,000. And that, again, for me is like the greatest thing ever. I never care about the money of that. That exists forever.
It's doing cool stuff.
Yeah, it's got our logo on it. And then on this foil one, I even went a step further because it was the nicest thing I've ever produced.
Oh, wow.
I got the clear boards.
So
see-through.
Oh, I didn't even know they make these.
Yeah, see-through boards on it because that's like the upper echelon, the greatest comic product I've ever produced in this shop. That's 8 years
I have never
of taking it to the limit every single Wednesday.
I'm a believer.
Man, it's so cool. And
this bag and board is, or this board. Yeah,
and then Jorge Jimenez did the first story in there.
That's cool.
There is a Doc Ock with kryptonite arms. It doesn't get any cooler than that. So, no, I love Superman, Spider-Man. Crushed it. All the covers were amazing and great stories on the inside. 100%.
Do you think, would you want Marvel and DC to do more of these, or do you prefer that, there's these years apart between these big of it? Do you want them more scarce, or do you want them more regular?
If they're going to do 26 covers, then scarce.
Got it.
Okay. If you want to do Deathstroke versus somebody, Thor. or something, just make up a thing. You want to do like a one shot, just those characters, 1 or 2 covers in a variant or in an incentive, then I think it could be popular and beneficial to both. But if they do 20 covers every single time, it'll just burn people out.
That's fair.
And I mean, I've learned my lesson. There was one major flaw from this whole rollout. Spider-Man, Superman just came out from Marvel, obviously in April. We're talking about March now. They just named them so similar. People still just don't understand. They're like, wait, did I buy those already? Is that a second print, different cover? I'm like, no, those are all new stories, which is, at least they flopped it because Marvel got the benefit of being first on the Deadpool Batman. So, Superman on the DC side.
Yeah.
But if they should have maybe made it number 2 or swapped the name to something else, and that probably would have helped them a little bit. But no, really cool. Great idea. Huge sales. As big a sales as you're going to get crossing those two over. But if they were going to do it in the future, they'd have to make it a little scarce.
That's
like
fair.
Make it like one cover.
I agree.
You always run out of something if there's only one cover, Marvel. It's like number 4 of a series. Everybody's like, do you have that? I'm like, no, man, they only made one cover, bro. No, go on.
Okay. All right. So that was the number 1 top comic of March. Number 2, Daredevil number 1. How did Daredevil number 1 do for you?
Well, great. A very good story, but it was because of the blind bags.
Yeah.
That's why the sales were the number 2 because, I got 768 blind bags or something. I would have never got Daredevil would have been way, not that it wasn't great first story, first appearance of a brand new villain, very well drawn and very well written. Stephanie Phillips, love it. But, it would have been, the blind bags definitely the print run.
Ben, I'm thinking about, I think 1 year ago, not today, but I think a year ago when we were recording this episode to prep for Free Comic Day 2025, it was shortly after the Battle Beast blind bag, which I think is safe to say has kind of kicked off the resurgence of blind bag mania. I'm sure you could probably list all of the different blind bags that have come out since a year ago. Do you feel like it's too much now, or is it kind of like, it's not really bothering me?
No, I think we've learned our lesson, and I think some publishers decided that they haven't quite figured out, because to sell a blind bag, you have to have a golden ticket. You have to have an item, whether it's a 1 in 1,000 incentive variant that is very rare, something like that, or hand sketches drawn in there, or just something like when Battle Beast came out, they put a number 2 issue in there. You could get an advanced copy, or you could get it. Remember, they did the Marvel Team Up, the reproduction with Marvel Spider-Man, made it super popular with Invincible. So you have to put something in there. I love Dynamite, and we've done a number of Dynamite comics, including Thunderhawks is the coolest thing ever. However, the blind bags they make, while they're cool, they're kind of like only things you can get in there, but there's no golden ticket essentially. So there's no reason to keep buying. When you do the blind bag with Daredevil, the idea was you could get a blank sketch cover done by someone, or a high-end 1 in 1,000, or there were a couple of Daniel Warren Johnson and Dan Panosian virgins. So you could just keep buying and buying and buying because it didn't matter, because you could get. So the blind bag has to have a golden ticket, or it's not effective.
Let me ask you this: among the blind bag mania that seems to have taken over the comic industry, who do you think has done the best blind bag?
Yeah, well, Battle Beast was the best because it was the best price point. So I loved what they did, and they did a great job. Marvel, unfortunately, messed up with the ultimate blind bag that they were doing on Endgame 1. They learned their lesson. Stuff happens in life, man. Until you do something, you don't know that it didn't work out. So they tried to do a blind bag. We had to return all of ours, essentially,
because they were all damaged.
Yeah, because they all
majority
came
of them
damaged.
came damaged.
Yeah, exactly. So we returned those. But Marvel's done a great job on their blind bags. They do very, very well. And then I'm looking forward to, there's a huge comic coming out for the Energon universe this summer called Mask. It is, I could sing the song to you right now, but I'm not going to, because I'm tone deaf. But Mask is coming out, and they're doing blind bags for that. And then the Queen in Black. I gotta say, I give Marvel a hard time, and while some of their stuff still, I wish that they would pivot and go in a little bit different direction. This year's been pretty good over the last 6 months. They've really done well. I mean, the Null storyline, King and Light, has been really good. Him coming back. The Queen in Black stuff with Hela is about to kick off their whole summer. They're doing blind bags for that. I got a bunch of those coming in. I'm very excited about that. And then as good as Spider-Man has been written in a long time is this Death Spiral storyline going on currently with ASM. I mean, listen, we're only 9 issues away from ASM 1000. That's bonkers. And really no one even talks about it. That's like 4 months for Marvel. They'll put out Spider-Man 6 times a week.
Yeah. All right, Ben, back to this list at number 3, which is just bonkers to say this. The 18th issue of a comic. Absolute Batman, number 18 was the number 3 top comic book of March 2026.
Every time it's new characters, if there's a new character and they know a new character is going to be introduced in the Absolute Universe, everybody buys it instantaneously because they sell out otherwise. And so they continue to crush. It doesn't matter what I get in, what covers I get. I get a lot of it. So I still have 18. I still have 17, 18, and 19. You got Poison Ivy, you got Scarecrow, you got all these characters, Deathstroke, the Robins being introduced, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, Absolute continues to crush. No doubt about it.
Okay. I'm going to jump around this list real quick so we can get on to another topic. But at number 6, this is kind of interesting because you brought it up, but a facsimile made its way onto this list. At number 6, Marvel Team Up number 14, the facsimile edition, put out by Image Comics, was one of the top comic books of last month. A facsimile.
Yeah, so they did a foil version of it, so which is great, and obviously Spider-Man. And then they got Todd McFarlane involved. So they got him to draw Spider-Man again for the first time in 35 years. So there you go. That's pretty much your answer. Invincible, the popularity of Invincible, so you can even sell a facsimile because if you want to read an actual Invincible comic, the facsimile is the best way. They did Returns. They did Invincible Team Up 14. They did Invincible number 1. So they've done some of those, and then they got McFarlane to draw Spider-Man for the first time in 35 years. Super collectible.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool.
And then did a couple other covers. So you do 4 different variants, facsimile, and I mean I know I bought a bunch because we still have people coming in looking for it, and it's good thing to have in your shop. Anything Invincible.
You know what I like about the facsimile? Facsimiles feels like it's also gotten like a new sense of like a resurgence as well. And I really like how I think it's DC for sure that's reprinting all of the old school Treasury edition size books.
Oh yeah, so
from
fun.
like I think last year I ended up buying like they did a facsimile of the Superman Wonder Woman crossover. I think in the back right now you got like the original Superman and Spider-Man crossover. Yep. It's cool that they're reprinting.
They did that Muhammad Ali. Remember?
That's
Superman,
right. That's
Muhammad
right.
Ali.
Which I mean, some of these books, fetch a pretty penny. But
even now trying to get that one is a pretty penny now because that does happen. I tell people all the time, if Action Comics gets printed, you should buy it. For $6.99, there's no reason to never buy a copy of Superman because if you go back and look for an Action Comics reprint that came out 6 years ago, it's $25 already.
Interesting.
I mean, it literally is never a bad time to buy a facsimile of either Amazing Fantasy, which they never do, but Action Comics they do on Superman Day. And then facsimiles are great. Great comics to check out, but like you were saying, even stories that DC has printed in collected editions, they reprinted the entire Hush facsimile editions, the original. They're in the middle of doing Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns run. So they're doing all of those with new covers. They got Jim Lee to do a cover. They got Frank Miller to do another cover. And then they did a regular and a foil version of it. And most of the time they do a foil facsimile. So Silver Surfer number 1, the original Silver Surfer number 1, and a foil. I don't care if it's a facsimile. You never had one in foil before. So that's cool to me just in general, no matter what, over collectability.
Yeah, I guess it's cool to see that these publishers are utilizing and pumping out more facsimiles. Now, granted, I do miss when they were like $1, right? Like when they first came out.
I mean, that would be nice. They are $6.99, but I mean,
But it beats paying $100 for this issue on eBay. And it got me thinking about what you said about the 13-year-old with his mom looking for an issue in Invincible.
Yep.
Like a facsimile is a great solution for that. I'm surprised that, they haven't hopped on reprinting every issue of Invincible as a facsimile. That would be I
No,
think,
I'll tell you
print
one
money.
thing that has snuck under the radars in terms of reprinting, and it's still to this day crazy to me, but it's Walking Dead Deluxe.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right.
And and this is the reason, I have long boxes in here and I want people to come buy them. No, but the real reason that you should Walking Dead Deluxe is because they didn't do it in color.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing it in color now, which is cool. I've never read Walking Dead from the very beginning, so I read it every 2 weeks when it comes out in color. But they already said they're not going to print it in color. So the only time you could ever own Walking Dead, like a huge, giant hit in American culture in full color, is in the Walking Dead Deluxe comics. So there's 22 of us essentially, about approximately, that get all the covers. We've got a couple short box listeners. I won't call them out by name, but they get every cover of every issue. So they got, nice stack of them. But that is a huge one. And I highly recommend to still go back and try to get some of those, because there's nothing cooler. Walking Dead in full color. And it's just it really is a great comic. I mean, Kirkman's amazing.
Man, all right. I want to, obviously, I've got a ton more questions. I still want to get back to Free Comic Book Day. But you know what, man? I want to switch. I want to turn the tables on you today, man.
All right. Oh,
as
when I don't know any of the stuff ahead of time here, this is when I freeze up.
As most listeners know, one of my favorite segments to do on the show, anytime I have a great interview lined up, is the Short Box Friends and Family segment. You sponsor that segment. You are also a participant in that segment. You have been so amazing, submitting voicemails for the likes of Joshua Williamson and all the amazing guests that I've had this year. I bring up Joshua Williamson because he really enjoyed your voicemail.
Oh, did he? Yeah, that's awesome. When's that drop?
Actually, it'll be 2 weeks after this episode. Okay, so sweet. Everyone now knows I got a Joshua Williamson.
Oh yeah, I guess we announced that to the world.
It's all good. All right. So Ben, I decided to turn the tables on you, and I've got some voicemails for you.
All right. I got put me on the spot. Let's do this.
So this first one, I'm gonna leave this one I'm gonna leave both of these as a surprise, but they're both familiar names. And let's just take it away with this first voicemail. All right, let's go.
Hey Ben, it's your friend Daniel from Black Cat Comics. First and foremost, let me just say I thank you so much for sending in your question for my episode of The Short Box. It was super sick, had a good time thinking about that question and finding a good way to answer it and having that discussion. So really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and get to my question because that's what I'm here for. So kind of what I would like to know is a little peek behind the curtain. I was a customer of yours whenever the COVID-19 pandemic, started and we had the shutdown here in Jacksonville and Florida and all of that. And there was a lot going on with comic book deliveries and so much uncertainty and everything at that time. And I'd really love to hear, as a comic shop owner, as a business owner, how you dealt with that level of uncertainty, and kind of what that did to you, how you persevered through that and figured it out and everything. If it was a really challenging time for you, I'd just like you to know, as a customer, I had no clue. You always seemed in good spirits about it and everything. So yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective on what that did and how you made it through that. So thanks so much. Again, I really appreciate all the support and knowledge and everything that you've given to me. And thanks so much, dude. Talk to you later.
All right, that's awesome. Well, I love Daniel. Daniel loves comics, so that's why I love Daniel, because that's the whole point of being. I love comic shop owners that love comics, that want to create, that want to be a part of this. So, great question. It's funny to go back and think about that, because there's a distinct month where we were closed. One solid month, basically the month of April. Comics stopped getting distributed at the end of March, and then there were new comics. I wasn't sure. They said non-essential businesses shouldn't be open. I actually felt an insane amount of pressure from family members around the country. shut down. Don't worry about it. If you lose money, we'll help you. You can always restart a business. We don't, because there was a lot of uncertainty about COVID at the time. No one really knew if last thing I wanted to do was be the guy with ABC News outside where I like killed 2 people trying to sell them comic books, and then like I'm the story across the nation.
We take it to the limit here, but not that.
Yeah. And it was a super. No one knew anything, so we all just. That was the hard part about that situation. We just wanted to do what was best for everybody.
Sure.
So there were new comics. And I decided I had just been open for about 3 years or so far leading up to that moment. And, the first couple years I was open, I was really just learning the business. I didn't know much. So that month of April, I went home and I'll tell you what I did. I did Lego sets, so many Lego sets. And I don't know what other people did when they were locked up in their house, essentially, because, we didn't go out to eat. You didn't do anything. You really were locked up. You were trying to do what was best for everybody, especially the first 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
Leading from the middle.
Yeah. So I did a shit ton of Lego sets. And then money-wise, it sucked not making any money. The good news was there were no new products coming in. So I didn't have to continuously buy product because comic book stores are cash flow. And if I had to keep buying new product while not being open, I would have gone bankrupt and out of business and we wouldn't have existed anymore. But the fact that there wasn't any and all I had to do was pay overhead, I'm sure my landlords probably would have helped me in one way or another, but I just kept paying my bills, those bills that I owed. But not having new product really helped. And I basically just weathered the storm, but it was getting a little iffy. So at the end of April, you start looking at your bank accounts and you're like, well, I need to start figuring out a way to make money. So at the end of April, I was going to be open at the beginning of May no matter what. They hadn't announced that comic books were coming back, but Florida had started talking about, hey, regular businesses need to get open again. We need to try to get this economy going. Not everybody can stay at home. So at the end of April, I started planning to be open, and I was going to either sell things on our Facebook Live, right? Sell things online and then have people come pick it up, essentially drop it off. We were doing that. People drive up, bring it to their car for them, pay for your order online, that thing. Then they announced that May 1st, you could have non-essential businesses essentially open in Florida. So that opened the door that I'm going to be open. And holy smokes, was it crazy busy, which was the best thing ever for us because we really needed it. But people were so desperate. There were no new TV shows, no movies. No one had gotten new comic.
They needed some escape.
They came in and got every comic and anything they could find in here. And we were super busy. Middle May, they started distributing comics again, and then we got a huge influx of new, a wave of people like kind of coming out to check out. Oh, COVID reinvigorated the comic market. You saw the prices then, they went insane. People were overspending because they had money to burn, so they're overspending on old comics. It reinvigorated the comic market. It reinvigorated the card market. It reinvigorated the hobby market because people really had to find hobbies again. Like I said, I was building giant, 30-hour plus Lego sets.
Wow.
And so it was great, actually, even though I'll be honest with you, I was down to my last like $5,000 that was in my account for the shop. In fact, a couple here, Preston Scott and his wife, Leah, they went at the end of March online, filmed a video, sent it into T-Mobile's small business program, saying that they should award us a $5,000 small business grant because of COVID. And it said they come here all the time. It was like a minute-long video, and T-Mobile awarded us a $5,000 award after that because of the Scots.
This is the first time I've ever
Yeah,
this.
so
Wow.
I was down to my last like couple $1,000s here trying to figure out I can pay rent again here, but like we need to start selling some product. And then they get me that $5,000 grant that came in. Obviously, I had to pay taxes on it, but still was so amazing when I first got it. Really, it was like right when this place needed it. It was kind of like an angel. And to this day, I thank him every single day. I see him. But that was amazing. And then we were able to just get back into the groove and kind of pick up again where we left off, and then add a bunch of people because, like I said, the hobby was again. So yeah, no, it was tough. Sliding, you didn't know what was going to happen, but I didn't know what was going to happen in general. We didn't even know if the country was going to reopen. You didn't know if like a strain of like illness was going to go through and kill everybody. Like it really was. You got to put yourself back in that position where you were, where it was like if you went to the CVS without a mask on, people were ready to lynch you.
Yeah. Damn. Man, damn good question, Dan. I mean,
Yeah,
you got
it
me
was.
like having flashbacks.
I forgot all about that kind of era of it
you know,
because so much stuff happens in life. We really do block all this out, don't we?
I think having a conversation either with my wife or someone else, and we were talking about how it feels that, there's, PC pre-COVID life and then, after COVID life. And hearing you say how COVID, the pandemic, all of that reinvigorated the resale market, the card. I mean,
card market's never been the same,
and
it still
and
is
it feels
so
like the
insane.
momentum.
Yep.
Obviously, it is not as it's not a frenzy like it was, but that momentum is. I think it has pushed it along. So I think we're still seeing. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but you're doing Whatnot shows every Sunday. Like the rise of Whatnot.
Yep.
We got eBay Live. It does feel like that vintage
it was
resale
the real
market.
rise of live selling. I don't know. I know Jack DeMaio and like some of the guys who created Whatnot, but I don't know the ideas that they got to create Whatnot. But my guess is the Facebook Live, Instagram Live, TikTok Live, people around the COVID time were like, and I know I did that for a while with my Facebook page. I was selling stuff. We have a Facebook claim page now. You sell stuff on every platform. And live selling is the future of everything. I was online this morning. Absolutely. I get lost in these Chanel bag sales of these people spending thousands on a whim. It's a 10-second countdown, and people are fighting thousands of dollars like no problem, about to drop $2,600 on this bag. And the bag might be worth $7,000 in a normal situation, so I understand. It's still, and I buy comics all the time, but rarely, even if I was going to buy a $2,500 comic, it probably is not going to be on a swipe on Whatnot, but that's going to be reality. Nordstrom's isn't going to exist anymore except to hold the product and to send the drone with the product to the person's house to drop
more like
it off.
a distribution shipping center.
Yeah, wait till big corporate retail start doing online sales, because right now it's kind of like the secondhand market. Right? Comics have gotten into it. So Boom's got their thing going, all of them. I mean, Scotty Young's got his own retail. He doesn't need me to sell his comic. He sells it. J. Scott Campbell sells it. They, so they're kind of like a little bit.
This new direct to consumer.
Right.
Where it's like, I think
but that hasn't happened in everything, and it's going to.
Yeah.
It's going to, no matter the market that you can think of, it's going to be, you buy it online right now, and it's going to be brought to you by a drone to your house.
Not to stay on this topic much longer, but it does got me thinking that I think COVID, because we all couldn't go outside, we leaned so much more into the digital, connecting digitally, which meant like also selling, commerce digitally. And I don't think that is going away anytime soon.
No.
Like it's kind of like how work from home is like kind of like the new norm for some.
If you can
corporate.
do it, then
it's like, why would I?
Why? It
It's
sense.
like we can't put the genie back in the bottle. You know what I'm saying?
He can't be like, I could just do this from my house right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Ben, all right. Big shout outs to Dan over at Black
awesome.
Cat
Dan's
Comics.
awesome, man.
He's great. If you haven't seen his interview, check that episode out because that
definitely.
was a fantastic conversation. All right, Ben, I got one more
All right,
surprise
let's see what it is.
voicemail from you, and I am so excited for you to hear this one. All right, let's play it.
Ben Kingsbury. Ben freaking Kingsbury's the man. I love this guy.
That's
Ben,
Tyler Kirkham.
Dude, he's always been an amazing supporter of mine. This is Tyler Kirkham, by the way. he was a huge supporter of Final Boss, like from back in the day. He backed the Kickstarter. He did all sorts of stuff. He's in Final Boss. He gets killed in Final Boss. He's one of my favorite retailers, one of my favorite people. My family loves him. Ben, I'm excited to come back and do another signing. Also, let's hit the beach, man, when I come back.
Yeah, 100%.
All right?
Yeah.
All right.
Heck
Later.
yeah.
Kingsbury.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so awesome. That's the best thing ever. That's so good.
He was excited to send it, as you can tell.
Yeah. Tyler's so awesome. I've been fortunate enough, like I said, in this business to interact with some awesome people like Tyler. Tyler is so amazing. Not only is he just a badass comic book artist, but, obviously he has his own comic that he's writing, Final Boss, but he has always been an artist for the comic retailer. And what I mean by that is if you need something from him, I mean, the talent level, in 48 hours, he will have an entire comic cover drawn for you. You're like, bro, they need art by Monday. Boom, knocking it out. You're like, you're a wizard. It doesn't even make sense. And then he started writing Final Boss and having that printed with Image. And I think he started realize, because he started going to people and being like, hey, you want to do a cover? And they're like, yeah, I can do it in like 3 months. And they're like, no, bro, I need it in like 2 weeks. This comic is coming out next month. We don't even know what we're doing in the future yet. So he is very much a comic shop artist. He has always done everything. He travels to all these cons to visit fans. Yeah. He's awesome. And I know he was talking about his family. I'll tell you, one of the best things that I have in this comic shop is that his kids, Indy and his daughter, they drew characters, and I have them hanging on the wall. So Indy Kirkham's first TMNT's hanging on the wall at the Limit, bro. It's so cool while they were here during his signing. So Tyler is amazing. He's like as good as it gets. His Final Boss, his Mass Vigilante, comes out this week. But the first thing we ever did was Moon Knight together, Marvel comic, and I would consider Tyler a friend now, and he's definitely a friend of the comic book world. I'm lucky we just did a Transformer cover with him recently, and then, like I said, his Mass Vigilante Final Boss needs to become a video game.
Yes, co-sign on that idea. But hearing you mention his Moon Knight cover that he did, which when was that?
ASM 2020. Yeah, before COVID.
Before,
PC? So this is like, this is before that all that stuff happened. 2019.
Well, it got me thinking. I think that was maybe the first retailer exclusive I had ever seen, or the first time I had been like, oh, whoa. Wait, a retailer can get their own special cover, and it's one of my comic shops? I remember that being such a big moment, because I was like, I guess, why can't a retailer get their own cover? So, and of course, it was Tyler Kirkham, which put him back on my radar. I had been a fan, and then I wasn't really sure where he had been, and then he ends up doing the cover for you, and then he ends up doing, like, the next 5-6 covers. I like to call Tyler Kirkham the unofficial, like, fifth member.
Man, if I count the Gotham City Limit. Well, and I'm so spoiled because I'll be like, hey, Tyler, you want to do a Transformer cover? He's like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to do this. And a day later, he sends me the cover. I'm like, this guy's awesome, man.
Ben, how many... I know you could fill a short box with all the retailer variants that you've done, but about how many? What's the number on that? How many exclusives?
I'm over 30 now, like in general of what we've done. And like I said, that goes all the way back, but I will give credit to where credit is due. Kevin Eastman's TMNT Last Ronin. I decided to do an exclusive. It was the very first exclusive that the shop ever did on anything. And that comic was incredible. Remember the hype on that coming out? A line down the door out when we opened. And that was the first one we did, and we sold so many of them. And I was like, okay, this is something cool. And then I remember getting an email from Marvel and them offering a specific, these are the titles that you could do. And I'm like, man, these are big print runs, but ASM is literally, I remember, so they offered me a bunch of artists. I didn't even know Tyler at the time. So this is pre-final boss. So then they offered me a bunch of artists, and with Marvel, you are not to contact the artist. Marvel contacts the artist, so you just tell Marvel what you want, and then they tell the artist. I said, hey, can Tyler Kirkham do a cover? They said, sure. He sent me, they said, do you have any kind of like what you want it to look like? And I said, well, honestly, my favorite comic of my entire life is probably ASM 238, the first appearance of Hobgoblin. I love goblins in Spider-Man. I was like, could we have him ripping maybe Conchu or something? That was my first thought. And they were like, well, that doesn't work, but we can have him ripping an old suit. And then we did the ASM homage. Tyler reached out to me about getting some comics signed. Then we did Final Boss together during his Kickstarter run. It wasn't technically Kickstarter, but his great thing. And then all the way down from Ordained to Transformers to Spy. I mean, he really is amazing. And we're lucky we had him out here, and I can't wait to have him out again for sure, man.
Hell yeah.
Tyler rocks.
All right. I guess speaking about, you mentioned like his kids' artwork is hanging here. He mentions like his family loves you. It's got me thinking about, family and comics. I'm just going to go ahead and horseshoe this transition in. Let's get back to talking about Free Comic Book Day,
Yes, let's
which
do it.
will bring a bunch of families out. It's a very family-friendly event. I was taking a look at the comics coming out for Free Comic Book Day.
Yep.
I think at the moment, only 24 titles has been announced from what I can tell on the official site, which feels a little short.
Well, it was a little weird because it's two different companies this year. So you have Free Comic Book Day, which Universal Alliance essentially bought from Diamond Distribution during bankruptcy, and then Penguin Random House doing their comic giveaway day.
Okay, so maybe
And
I only found one list.
And so there isn't. There's still a decent amount of titles, and then there's some like Dark Horse where they jammed all their titles into one, like He-Man, Avatar, Minecraft, that kind of thing. But there is a decent amount and some really cool titles. I know one that you're gonna love, dude. They're giving you the double Conan the Barbarian and the Cimmerian, dude. Two different Conan
There's also
titles.
I thought you were gonna say there's a Street Fighter Free Comic.
Oh
Book
yeah,
Day.
well
I can't
obviously
wait.
that
All right,
too.
well,
man.
Ben, let's get into it.
Yeah.
What's looking like the early contenders for most popular must-have Free Comic Book Day titles, and maybe what are some sleeper Free Comic Book Day
well,
titles?
here's the one that I have to practice over and over and over again. Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Yeah.
Looks like it'll probably be the most popular Free Comic Book Day comic that comes out, in my opinion, so far. I don't know. There might be another one. It's usually a smaller title that you haven't really heard of. Luckily, a lot of people have asked me about that title already, so we got a decent amount of them in. But I think that one is going to be a huge one. And then obviously DC and Sonic is so fun. It was so good, and they're doing another one called Metal. DC Sonic Metal, and so they've got a new one coming out, and that's brought a lot of younger people in to kind of the crossover event. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
All right, I guess go down to your list.
You want me to? Yeah, I mean, I can tell you all the other things. I mean, they got a Queen in Black ASM, so I am interested. The Energon Universe. First appearance of a new character in this one, and you're first going to get your first taste of Mask. That is the characters from an old 80s TV show that they're bringing Matt Tracker and everything into the Energon universe. Shout out to Elias Chadzudis for doing an exclusive. That's not even up online yet. It comes out in June. So that's going to be awesome. They have the next DC Next Level stuff coming out. So if you are interested in seeing if you like Deathstroke the Terminator or Batwoman or Barbara Gordon or any of those titles, that'll be coming out. Something's Killing the Children. Power Rangers is starting all over again. Obviously, Marvel's got their couple of events going on. So the Armageddon X-Men crossover, and then an ASM Queen in Black. And then if you've been reading any Marvel, you've seen Paramount a lot of the stuff, so you're going to get some more Predator, some more Alien, and some more what's the third one that always comes with those? Alien, Predator, and Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes. There you go. Yep. Wow.
So those are all going to be awesome titles. I mean, there's even, there's adult ones, Gun Honey, Conan the Barbarian, Nice House on the Lake. I try so hard to get into Nice House by the Lake and Nice House by the Sea by James Tynion. The story seems cool when I read the premise. For some reason, I struggle to get into that story. I don't know why.
I loved the first one because
Yeah.
and I meant to go catch up with the second one. Maybe I'll use this opportunity.
Yeah, we'll have to do that. But
But
for
Ben,
sure.
I think I'm looking at like I've maybe got one more question for you, and I'm looking at your list. I'm like, I
Yeah.
wonder what he's got on there that I don't have. So Ben, let me ask you this one
Yeah.
last question, and then if you want to,
I got a
jump in-
few little,
Okay,
no
okay.
big deal.
Well, how about this? Because I always ask this every year, and it seems to be a hit. What would you say is the biggest sleeper comic of the first quarter of 2026?
Okay.
That you feel like not enough people are putting are checking out or has gone under the radar.
Yes. Okay. There's two. DC's Vertigo line are very, very good.
I literally have a
Yeah.
question about how is the relaunch of Vertigo
Okay. Yeah.
doing?
End of Life. Kyle
Perfect.
Starks and Steve Pugh are amazing. End of Life is amazing, but even The Perilous, Brutal Dark is a great one. Bleeding Hearts, Dennis Camp is a great story. Dennis Camp writes great comic book stories, so those are great. So I really do enjoy the DC Vertigo line that they have going on. The other one that I tell everybody for collectability purposes that maybe it's just because I'm 46 years old, but Thundercats times Silverhawks. It's going to be a 15-part series. Declan Shelby, Ed Brisson are doing it together. Declan is amazing. Not only is he an awesome dude, but he writes and draws the whole Thundercats story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so, I mean, and he's doing that. So they just did it for the first time ever, Thunderhawks. So I think in the future that stuff has a huge, if you want to spec buy on Thundercats and the Silverhawk crossover, because if they ever make like an animated movie or TV show in the Invincible style universe, I could see that being huge. And I think people are sleeping on those properties. I think Thundercats was popular for a reason in the 80s, and I think it can be super popular again if they do it correctly, sort of like Sonic got a good relaunch, Mario got a good relaunch, that kind of thing. And then speaking of TV shows, still not enough people are collecting the Transformers, Void Rivals, and G.I. Joe stuff.
Wow.
I mean, we still have a huge number, don't get me wrong. I mean, we used to sell 17 copies of Transformers. Now we sell hundreds of copies of Transformers. So it's still, but it's going, they've already announced that there's going to be an Energon Universe animated series, like in the style of Invincible. So if you just look at Invincible and look at the comics, it would be a no-brainer in terms of the stories are awesome and great reads. They've never done a better job reinvigorating the characters for a modern time. But on top of it, it is huge collectability purposes because as soon as that animated show drops, everybody's going to be looking for those comics. So kind of like a random one. And then if you just want two independent publishers to read, if you love to read comics and you want to collect, then you should be reading Bad Idea Comics and Ignition Press Comics, the number ones of all of their titles. And then if you like it, continue to get that stuff. But all of them are awesome.
Now, Ben, in terms of we've been talking about the privilege you have of reading like advanced reviews, you get all these advanced copies. Looking into the future, over the summer, that's usually when we get like the big summer events for crossovers and whatnot. What are you excited for in terms of future releases?
Well, one of them was Mask. I'm obviously very hyped on that. Anything added to the Energon universe is going to just continue to be great. Terminal. I don't know if you've heard of it, the Robert Kirkman story Terminal that is coming out. That is going to be a huge smash hit. So I'm very excited about that. We are lucky enough to do an incredibly small amount of a retailer exclusive for a brand new Zach Kaplan title coming out in June called Only the Savage Are Left. And I was lucky enough to read an advanced PDF of that, and it is awesome. It is like Fallout mixed with Walking Dead. Zach Kaplan's stories
like
are
right
amazing anyway. Yeah, he's amazing. So this is really, I'm really looking forward to that. He has another one coming out called Smart Division as well. So anything Zach Kaplan, I love. Masterminds has been fantastic. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. And then IDW has kind of rebranded a little bit, their new logo, the ID. And then they're doing a new crime genre of comics.
Yep.
So they have the regular IDW stuff, and then we're gonna have a
It's
crime.
IDW Dark, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the one I'm most looking forward to is Killer Influences. It looks to be like some kind of professional serial killer golfer, essentially, but it looks great. It's dark. They have a new murder mystery one, Seven Wives, I believe is the title. I might be wrong off the top of my head. But that's the first one that's going to kick off IDW's crime wave. But the Killer Influences title this summer, I can't wait for.
Okay. All right, Ben, I want to do one actually, I'm looking and I cannot not do this part. Let's do a lightning round thing, all right?
Okay.
I went ahead and looked at the month of April, which we're in. By the time this episode comes out, it'll be the last Wednesday of April. And I was curious about all of the first issues that came out this month. So I'm going to list off a couple of these number ones that came out this month. And I just want you to say one word that comes to mind for them, okay? Starting off, I think we already talked about Daredevil number 1, but that was one of the new issues this month.
Blind Bags.
Okay. Bizarro year 1.
Kevin Smith. Amazing. It's year none.
Thank you.
Actually.
Sorry. Yeah, I got that right. Yeah.
So,
Bizarro,
no, but great first issue.
Okay.
Absolutely as good Bizarro as you can write.
Okay. Mad About DC number 1.
Oh, man. Amazing. Dan Panosian cover, Scotty Young spread. Every page in it is well thought out. If you love DC Comics and Mad at all, that's 100% a go-to.
Okay. Alien King Killer number 1.
Could have been better.
Okay. It's just that you're so positive and animated.
I know. No. Well, no, the two new ones, Alien King Killer and Predator Badlands, they're slow starts. I'm hoping to get something good.
It's just the first issue. Yep. Okay. Speaking about IDW, one of my favorite titles from last year was the prequel to this. Godzilla's Monsterpiece Theater presents Romeo and Juliet and Godzilla number 1. That came out this month as well.
Yeah, I took a risk because it was Romeo and Juliet and they had a cool 1 in 50 incentive and we sold them all because you put Godzilla and Romeo and Juliet together. That's a great crossover.
The series that came out last year, which I'm drawing a blank on the name, it was Monsterpiece Theater presents something.
Yeah, it was a Shakespeare one or something. I can't remember.
That one was really fun. So I'm excited to check this one. Okay, I got 3 more for you. Everyone Loves a Jewel Thief number 1.
Great Ignition Press number 1 title. It ties the characters all played D&D when they were younger, so it flashes back to when they knew each other when they were youngsters, and now them at advanced age committing crimes. But yeah, Ignition Press, great title.
Cool. All right, Corpse Night number 1.
Oh man, a character from the past you had no idea was going to be brought into that comic.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, color me interested. All right, and last but not least, this number 1 also came out this month, and that's Headlopper.
Headlopper. Okay, Andrew McLean. I didn't know a lot about it. I guess it's another Headlopper, but it's a volume. It's a second volume, and that's one title I wasn't super sure about. Probably should have got more A covers than I did. They had a bunch of variants.
Yeah, so bad. It's like a Jim
Rugg.
No,
it sold well. Sold 1 in 10 on our whatnot for about $17, I think, this afternoon. So
hell yeah.
Yeah. No, Headloppers was. Sometimes when it's second volume, I don't want to buy a whole lot because you'd think you already have these people, but some people need to be reintroduced to titles they had no idea existed. So
for sure.
No, that's awesome, man. That's a great list of number 1s there.
White
Sky, you should read. Nectar, you should read. Tigress Island, another great one. All right, here is my Mad Cave Studio pick of the year. It is called The New Space Age. The writer is, let me see who I got going on. Kenny Porter, and art by Mike Becker. It is a disgraced astronaut whose brother was abducted by aliens and wants to get back into outer space, but incredibly well thought out, strategic comic. So if you're looking for a cool one, Mad Cave Studios' New Space Age, couldn't recommend it more. He-Man Sword of Flaws, the movie's coming out, so you got to crush it with that. Skeletor gets a new sword. Tim Seeley's reading it. And then
he's writing like everything.
Okay, Freddie Williams doesn't get enough love. Okay, he's amazing. So he does the interiors of so much stuff. TMNT, He-Man. Good. He's crushing all the time, doing so many covers. I think he might be 10 different people, but he's doing the art of He-Man, so we're so fortunate and lucky. It's as good as it gets. So the He-Man storyline was awesome. And then Tony Fleeks and Dean Menkeno, Carmen DG Menico. how do I say that name? Domenico?
Domenico.
Yeah, something
Gian
like that.
Domenico.
He's doing the artwork. Deathstroke the Terminator is back, and it's Deathstroke that we all wanted in our lives. You need a good Terminator. By the way, Tyler Kirkham loves Deathstroke. That's a little side
And I think no more, Ben. No more.
That's it. That's all I got for you.
I think, because I'm sitting here thinking about all the times that I have tried to add or list out every title you've mentioned in an episode, and I literally run out of character limits for the episode upload.
Oh yeah, because I'm just spitting them out.
So,
You need to check this one out. Go.
I think we've got plenty of comics.
I think we crushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess in closing, if you are in the Jacksonville, Northeast Florida area on Saturday, May 2nd, Free Comic Book Day. It's mandatory here at the Limit, all right?
It's all we do. I'm not a well-rounded person. All right, I'm not good at anything else. I want to make Free Comic Book Day the best experience everybody can have, and we're lucky and fortunate to do it. We're going to open at 9 a.m. if you are close enough. 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. till the sun sets. Let's take Free Comic Book Day to the limit, baby.
There we go. I'm going to have links in the show notes if you want to check out some more information on this year's Free Comic Book Day event. I'm also going to have links to the Gotham City Limit online store, by the way, which... I saw you guys got a facelift on the website.
Oh, yeah. Well,
it
really has. Not only do we have retailer exclusives up there that you can get, but the goal is in 2026, like I told you in the last time, being online and exposing Gotham City Limit to the nation and the world. We just sold our first comic ever to Hong Kong right off our website. I know that's not a big deal. That's cool as shit to me. And then we sold one to Brazil for the first time ever because of Gerard Peral. He is Brazilian. This is an amazing thing. We're going to get more and more of our regular comics up, so you can get like regular comics on GothamCityLimit.com now.
Taking over the world.
And so, that's the next positive step. Obviously, nothing will ever never sacrifice the shop here, but being online, GothamCityLimit.com, baby, let's take it to the limit.
That's what I'm talking about. Ben, first episode of the year.
Thanks so much, man. So glad you let me come.
Listeners, thank you so much for checking this out. I got my intro coming in. Check out the show notes for helpful links to a bunch of the things we talked about. With that being said, this is the Short Box Podcast. We just finished talking to the owner of Gotham City Limit, Ben Kingsbury, about Free Comic Book Day. We talked about the best comics of the year, the top selling comics. We talked about Tyler Kirkham. We talked about
COVID. We got everything covered today.
A lot. So thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you next week. All right. Hey, look, I spoiled it. Joshua Williamson coming on the podcast soon. Stay tuned for more. Peace, y'all. Bye.